Americans continue to get scammed by the left's big con. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, April the 2nd. And of course, what a big week ahead. We got the NCAA championship tomorrow. We got the Masters this week. But what we still have going on is the big con, which is being perpetrated by the new left. And of course, President Biden is chipping in all he can to make sure he fucks all Americans. Okay, he wants to turn the country over into the big shit house instead of the best country in the world. And it certainly is becoming scary and problematic. And it's really sad that Americans just don't care. And that's what helps a con be successful, when those that are being scammed and conned either jump in and try to benefit from it or allow it to happen right in front of them. But we've got from the money issues to the inflation, which we refuse to acknowledge, to a Federal Reserve that has been stealing since 1913. Okay, thank you to J.P. Morgan, Paul Warburg, the Rothschild family, and of course the Rockefellers. It's been a pleasure to be handled and ripped off by the Federal Reserve as we continue to pay for all the misfortune and all the mistakes that are made by all administrations that have been around since then. And that is a bipartisan issue. The Federal Reserve continues to devalue your currency as to in guaranteeing banks, which why would they guarantee a business? I still need an answer as to why any bank is too big to fail. Of course, we have found out that the Silicon Valley Bank, that's a big donor to the Democratic Party, is certainly going to get their depositors bailed out as well as the bank, okay, as they've been sold. But of course, the depositors who had well over the 250,000 are still getting their money back from, of course, the FDI insurance. But again, it makes no sense to me. But of course, we will once again, people will sit back and say nothing and do nothing because, of course, as the Martin Niemöller's poem says, they came for when they finally came for me, there was nobody left to help. And that's the position that we're putting ourselves in. And of course, Biden once again sticks it up the ass of now Senator Joe Manchin, as he had made him a deal. And of course, naturally, he went back on it. And is anybody surprised that Biden would back out and go back off on a deal? Well, of course, nobody should be surprised. I mean, Biden has done this his entire political career, okay? And of course, we continue to ignore, the issues. Of course, nobody ignored the issue of President Trump being indicted and being arrested, and everybody's making a big deal about that. And we'll see what happens. You know, it's amazing how much money and how many dollars have been spent to get rid of President Trump. And doesn't that tell you something about our political organization today, when both parties spent our money, not their money, but our money, okay, to get Trump, to try to get him out of the picture. And they yet have not gotten him out of the picture yet. But they're trying and have spent 7 years trying to eliminate him from potentially running again. You know, again, you do the math. You look at the logic behind why we're seeing the first president in history being indicted. But whatever, we'll see what happens. And of course, the Fed refuses any blame, including its no stress test. Well, again, as you've heard here many times, the banks are going to fail again because we do not have the accuracy of a true stress test. We aren't getting a true audit of the banks. So their assets, which are mostly phony, are really liabilities that have been turned into assets that allow them to lend out and create more dollars, okay? Letting them over leverage because, of course, when you know that you're going to be bailed out by the American taxpayers, why not? It's a pretty good gamble to me when you have no risk. Okay, and I think that we continue to look at these alternative sources of energy. Well, it has been now proved that wind power is a massive failure, and it can only be used as an addition or an add-on to to something else, okay, like solar. But even the two are not quite yet ready. And of course, it goes back to our power grid in general, which is not ready to handle this whole switch. And of course, as I say almost every week, President Biden, where is the plan? How are we going to get there? How much is it going to cost us? And how much of the middle class are we going to destroy by trying to get there? Okay. I mean, inflation is through the roof, although we continue to see them report those phony bullshit CPI numbers telling us that it's getting better. We hear the Fed talk about that, that they're going to continue to hike rates. Now, for some reason, Wall Street and people believe that the Fed is through hiking and that they might even consider cutting. And I would say, I don't agree. Now, again, obviously, this is a market. Nobody knows for sure what they're doing, but they've made it pretty clear that they're going to continue to hike. And with oil prices back on the rise, okay, and we're seeing oil back on the rise, with oil prices back on the rise, that is going to kick inflation back into a new gear once again. And they may get back to the admitted 9 to 10%, which is really 25 to 35% inflation, okay? Fed Collins says some more tightening is needed because the banks are strong. Well, I think we can say both statements in that case are pretty ignorant, okay? And of course, Fed chairs are pretty much ignorant and don't care about the fact of where the money's going to come from or who's got it. They go into that Federal Reserve and they may be the brightest, most conservative people in the world, but when they get inside there, they instantly become morons and forget about how hard it is to do what they try to do and how much it weighs on the American taxpayer who has to fund all of their lousy, stupid programs. Okay. Now, this is a beauty. As we've been following the reparations talk in California, it's interesting. They've been promising for years, and then they came up with this figure of $5 million per family in San Francisco. And finally, they stepped up and said, "We're tired of voting for you. When are we getting our reparations?" Now, I don't think anybody is entitled to reparations because nobody was alive, okay, on either side when this was going on. Okay, so again, reparations, my ass. I don't believe that anybody's entitled to reparations. Look, we've had a free country. We've had opportunities for everybody until now, until they've stolen and have destroyed the real opportunity for middle Americans to go into their own business and have that potential success of a Steve Jobs, a Jeff Bezos, or an Elon Musk, or a Jeffrey Zuckerberg. Okay, because those guys have locked you out. Okay, they've locked us out of the chance. And I think that you have to remember that, when they start over-regulating things, what they're really saying to you is screw the competition. We are locked up. We're in good shape. We're going to take charge. And that's really what is happening. That is really kind of what you're watching. But of course, now the Biden madness, of course he is mad anyways. I mean, I'd like to know who's really running the country behind him, but he wants to put a question on the census, is to ask if you are a descendant of slaves. I'm a descendant of slaves. Okay, my ancestors were slaves, and my closer ancestors and much of my dad's family was killed in the Holocaust, in the concentration camps. So where's my reparations? That's what I'd like to know. Okay, but we have an economy that is being artificially propped up, and of course, remember, okay, you are the person propping it up. Every taxpayer is the one who's propping it up, and we continue to see some charging higher, but there are so many warning signs out there screaming to be careful and cautious. Now, I will never get away from my belief that the markets do average an annual gain of 8.5% year over year. However, there are sometimes that you have to be either hedged, which we are, or protected so that you can avoid the selling out at bottoms of markets. And I think that you have to recognize that usually at the end of a cycle or the end of markets, you do get some of these rallies that make no sense at all. And certainly nobody could imagine in the shape that this country is in, with the lack of employment and the lack of growth, that we're going to see a jobs number on Friday. But it's all bullshit. It's all garbage. It means nothing, and it means that we're probably going to see another big meltdown for no reason, because of course the global crisis that we've been watching, whether it be COVID or the Ukrainian war and all the other things that are going on, a lot of those are done on purpose or continued. Once they start, they're continued because government can use those to manipulate and steal more of your freedom. And think about that. If you're of the age of 40 or 50 or older, go back and think about the freedom you had versus the freedom you have today. I think you'll be aware and rudely shocked at how much has been taken from you over the last 25 to 30 years. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horowitz. We're going to step out here for a break, and we'll be right back with our market update here on Bubba's Bottom Line on Sunday, April the 2nd. Well, kids, what's up? Hope you're having a great weekend. And of course, we've got Easter coming up. We got Good Friday coming up. But as you know, I do give you a couple of sponsors that do sponsor the show. And again, they're brokers that I have vetted or brokers that I use. I have many brokers, but of course, there's Trader Brokerage, who is phenomenal. First of all, they're $10 a month. That's phenomenal in its own right. Okay, it saves me $100,000 a year in commission. But think about $10 a month flat. You have the ability to use our auto trading capabilities on our portfolio models at no charge. And if you want to use our hedging models, there's a licensing fee to use the software, but it's certainly a lot cheaper than the broker you would pay for. Plus, it does it for you automatically. Check them out. It's try.trader.com/Bubba. And of course, it's scrolling along the sides here. And of course, there's Capital Trading Group, which is our partner in Day Trader's Dream, and who is, again, one of the best brokers that I've ever been involved with. Why? Because they have great customer service. When you call a broker, you're not looking for voicemail. You got a problem, you want it solved. Capital Trading Group will always answer the phone. Check them out, info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba. And again, they're also scrolling on the side. And our high school program, and for my friend Charlotte, my Cushy Feet for the shower, great product. You can see it, I think, on Etsy. But it's a terrific product. And what's up, Charlotte? In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and, of course, our market report. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, April the 2nd. And, of course, markets were higher. The markets are going to Pluto. I guess we're never going down again. And, of course, we all know that that's false. But it is interesting to watch. And they continue to push higher. Look, whether it makes sense or not, remember, the market is always right. Okay? Again, if any of you out there thought that we would really see this continuation of a rally, obviously I don't believe you, because I know that everybody's pretty panicked or pretty scared, but yet the markets push higher, and that's why you don't fight or try to predict where markets are going. You let the markets tell you where it wants to go, and you play it from there. Now, if I were to forecast this week, it's going to be a short holiday week. I would expect some mean reversion. It wouldn't surprise me if we were to lower. We saw the end of the week last week finish with a big rally because, of course, it was quarter end, month end and quarter end, so not a surprise. I would expect to see some mean reversion, but anyways, it doesn't really matter. The bottom line is this, here's our positions, and here's where we stand. And, of course, in the dollar, which we don't trade anymore, but we would be still short dollars, okay, because there looks to be pressure there. And the euro currency, which was higher, we were our long euro currency, and again, we'll continue to trade that because it's a much better trade than the dollar, and it is just purely basically the opposite. Bitcoin continues to push its way higher. Look, it's up near 29,000. As we told you here at 20, it's probably a buy. Well, guess what? It looks like it's going to be a buy again. It looks like it's getting ready to go through 30 or higher. But right now, again, we're long it. We trade it, and we are still long. The bonds and the notes continue to go higher. Now, they did, remember, if you remember last week, I told you last week they came down to support. We were still long, and there'd probably be some bounce or revisit or reversion back to the mean, and that's what we have. Now, the real question is, what will they do from here? And if I'm right on interest rates, then bonds will collapse at some point. It doesn't mean here. They will collapse at some point because bonds will go inverse of interest rates because that's how the product works. So right now they're saying that the interest rates are going to stay stable or go lower, and I don't agree, and I don't think the Fed agrees. But we'll find out how it plays. In the meantime, we are long bonds and notes, and in the metals, gold, silver, both had a nice week. Gold kept trying to get through 2,000. It failed, but it didn't fail as badly as the last attempt. It actually is now building a nice little pattern, nice little support pattern. Looks like you can get ready to make the next charge up through 2,000. And silver continues to run. It's up to almost 24.5, and I would expect to see, as I said, this year in the mid-30s. And, of course, platinum, which we don't trade, is back over 1,000. And we would be long, but we don't trade it anymore. Just be careful. It's just not liquid enough. Certainly, if you're looking to buy some for yourself, I would have no problem with. And copper is higher, and we are, of course, long. In the grain markets, the grains were pretty much up, except for wheat continues to be stagnant. But we are now long grains across the board, and in the cattle, the protein complex, cattle continues to look phenomenal. Fat cattle or live cattle is getting very close to an all-time high. Feeder cattle is still substantially about 10% away from an all-time high, or 15%. But again, I think that they're going to continue to go higher. I think the real key to watch there is the crude oil market. As if crude continues to rally, which I believe it will, because you'll hear that we're long when I get there. But I think that if it continues to rally, I think you're going to see that the cattle markets will come down because, again, it'll come to a budgetary issue for the consumer. Okay, and then hogs continue to get hammered. Now, they should probably find some weight. We would be short hogs. We would be long cattle and short hogs if we were still trading, but we're not. But certainly I would say to you, if you want to speculate somewhere, if hogs are low early in the week, I'd probably take a stance and take a little position just for a trade. In the meantime, natural gas, which we're still short, is a little higher, but it was under $2 for a while. So it doesn't look good. Now, again, if you look out in the forward curve, it does look like it's going to go up later in the year, but right now it probably shouldn't. And of course, in the softs, cocoa was higher for the week. We're long. We reversed long sugar. We're still short cotton. We're still long OJ, and we're still short coffee. And in the equities, we are long the S&P. We are long the NASDAQ. We are short the Russell, and we were short the Dow. We will be reversing the Dow either tonight or tomorrow, whenever you do your reversing. Those who are with CTG will reverse tomorrow morning at just 6:30 Central Time. But again, they look like they want to go higher, but they have been. The move has been rather parabolic and a little bit too steep, and I would expect, as I said, to see some mean reversion. That has nothing to do with the longer-term trend. It just has to do with certain mathematical models. Things will trade a certain way at a certain time, and that's what we would expect to see here. And don't get trapped trying to sell into it. Just let it trade and find your positions. In the meantime, again, markets are going to see, we have the jobs number on Friday, which is another dumb idea. This is the second year in a row that they're going to release the jobs number on Good Friday. But who am I to say? I'm just a trader. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line. Top Bubba Hoare. We're going to step out for our final break and come back with, of course, our commentary and maybe some picks for the Masters. Well, kids, again, I'm not going to go through the whole pitch, but again, just remember, trade your brokerage, $10 a month, by far the best equity and options place you can go. Information on the side, Capital Trading Group, terrific futures and commodities broker. And remember, if you trade both futures and commodities, have separate brokers that specialize, one in the equities and commodities space and one in the equities and options space and one in the futures and commodities. Trust me, you'll be much happier in the long run. And of course, our high school program, which is scrolling along the bottom, Check them out. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with my commentary and, of course, a little sports talk to end the week or start the week, whichever way you want to look at it. In the meantime, let's get back to it right now. Welcome back. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horwitz. It is Sunday, April the 2nd. And, of course, every week I do have some commentary. And this is actually a little commentary, a little warning for all of you. And I don't know if you have noticed in many of the services that there's been a full court blitz on, or full court press, whatever you want to call it, and marketing and advertising and making all these ridiculous promises. And why? Because the markets have been a major struggle to trade. And of course, these places are trying to get into your pants pocket, promising you things that they can never deliver. And I think it is to you to take warning, okay, that scam advertising, okay, is going to get to you. And of course, it's written to get to your deepest emotion of hope and get to you to commit to give up your credit card or whatever to buy something that's never going to work. Okay, I always give you our exact position and our results each and every week, and we've been struggling, and the markets have been struggling. When you're in a market that is chopping sideways for the most part, it makes it much more difficult to trade. And so I warn you about the scams that are out there. I warn you about the scam that you're reading about. I can't mention any names, but I'm sure you may be able to spot and recognize them. But anybody that promises something that is too good to be true, bet your ass it's too good to be true. In the meantime, we've got the Masters coming up this week, and we don't have any real picks yet. I mean, we did take Hideki Matsuyama at 70-1 earlier just for a play so far, but we'll have a few out, and we'll give them out every day at Bubba's Daily Update until, of course, we see the first ball in the air on Thursday morning. But a big weekend, of course, tomorrow night is the championship game, which I'll have our selection for then. In the meantime, have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy, and remember that this is a shortened holiday week. Friday is Good Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow with Bubba's Daily Update.